Hello, everyone. There's lots of seats up towards the front if you're still looking in the back. There's lots of seats to fill in up front. Come on. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. If everyone could grab a seat, we will get started. Good afternoon and welcome to Seijo 2017 and Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am Jerry Adams, and I have had the distinct honor of being your president for the last year. I have enjoyed every minute of it. It's been a great experience. We've accomplished a lot. I hope you'll see in the next few days. We have a lot to share with you this afternoon. We are going to eat first and then move into a very busy program to try to get everybody out of here in a couple of hours. So, but we have several things to accomplish while we're here, and hopefully you'll hear some of the good works that we've been doing for the past year. But again, just wanted to welcome you and officially open Seijo 2017. And bring on the food.
Hello, Seijo family. We have a few folks that are still trying to find some seats for lunch. So if you happen to have a vacant seat at your table, if y'all could please raise your hand so we can make some new friends. Thanks.
Okay, may I have your attention? While you're continuing your meal, we're going to go ahead and get started with recognizing some folks who have helped us here, some of folks who are here, and get the program started as you continue to eat. Seijo is made up of a lot of people who work many hours behind the scenes in making sure this organization runs all year. If you have been a part of the exec board this year, the governing council, the host committee, programming committee, on any committee, member of a task force, please stand up and let us recognize you for the work you've done for the association for the past year. Thank you. As you can see, a lot of work goes into keeping Seijo going. I want to thank 4 groups who were meal sponsors for our meal here today at the kickoff luncheon. Southwest, Clark Nexon, Guidebook, and the Scion Group were meal sponsors today for lunch. Let's give them a round of applause. And when you're in our corporate partners area, please stop and thank them. I attended my first Seijo in 1993. I have been to 25 straight Seijos now. That doesn't quite seem possible. And I do realize from talking to some folks, my first Seijo was before some of our younger attendees were born. And I'm okay with that. I want to recognize some folks who have been here a little longer. If you have been to 10 or more Seijos, please stand. Attended 10 or more Seijos. If you have attended 15 or more Seijos, please remain standing. Twenty or more Seijos remain standing. And we'll stop at 25 or more Seijos. Thank you. As I said, my first Seijo was 1993. This morning we had a meeting of all newcomers to Seijo. A good meeting for an hour with those folks to welcome them here. If you're a first-time Seijo attendee, please stand and let us welcome you to the family. Thank you. Welcome to Seijo. Get to know the people around you. Get to know the folks who have been here a while. It will become an addiction and a positive one. You'll want to come back every year. Up front here with me, each year we have 2 reminders, 2 special symbols of Seijo. There are symbolic guests each year, and they preside over all formal gatherings of Seijo. And then they're passed from president to president. I think one of the most nerve-wracking things about being president was the Cro-Mag here, trying to make sure it got back to Knoxville safely, sat in my office for a year, and then brought back here. I did not want to be the president who accidentally broke the Cro-Mag. So the Cro-Mag is placed on stage next to the podium at all Seijo events. It was hand-carved in 2004 as a gift to Seijo by corporate partner Jim Anderson, who was at the time with the Fanograph Group. The accompanying letter of dedication stated, "I leave this with you as a reminder for you to continue building the future of Seijo on the pillars of education." A Cro-Mag is carved in a style of a Celtic walking stick, commonly referred to as a Cro-Mac, but here in the South we have changed that to Cro-Mag. Over here is the 2-step blanket. That's our second symbol. It is believed that the Mystic Stead 2-step was first mentioned in 1978 at Seijo. It was the first conference of Treasurer Bob Stewart. He used the horse as an analogy to bridge the structure needed for sound budgetary practices and decided in a decidedly loosely Seijo organization at the time, which was only about 13, 14 years old. By reporting the budget in terms of racing winnings and losses, cost of oats, and trainer expenses, Stewart kept all entertained in reporting. Countess, you have big shoes to fill in your report on tomorrow morning. Got it covered. As the tradition continued from year to year, a personalized horse blanket was created and dedicated to the association. While no one wrote down the year, many think that it was believed that 1984, when Seijo was at Churchill Downs, was the first year that the two-step blanket was used. This blanket is transferred annually with the expectation that both Seijo and our horse two-step will flourish and prosper in the upcoming year. So you will see these two symbols of Seijo here today at a business meeting in the morning, at the closing session on Friday when I transfer the careship of them to Donna. And I hope she has a way to get them back to her campus. So anyway, that's opening. I'm going to now want Gavin to come forward and welcome you from the host committee to Chattanooga.
Good afternoon, Seijo. So on behalf of the entire host committee, we are excited to welcome you to Chattanooga Seijo 2017. For most of you, you know that our theme is bridging the gap from good to great. What you may not know is that we're actually a licensed icon under an agreement under Jim Collins, author of Good to Great. Jim Collins and his team are also the ones that provided you all with the book that was at your place sitting when you entered. This relationship started around 18 months ago with him and his team as we were working on our logo. We're excited to be able to share a little bit about Good to Great throughout the conference. Jim also wanted to make sure that he sent you all an update and a welcome to Seijo 2017.
Hi there, I'm Jim Collins. I'm the author of Good to Great and Good to Great in the Social Sectors, the companion monograph that you have on your places right there at this gathering for the annual conference for Seijo. I would just simply like to welcome all of you and hope you have a really wonderful gathering. And as you go into it, to simply highlight 3 ideas about taking anything from good to great, since that is the theme that you're going to be embracing here at this conference. The first idea is the idea of level 5 leadership, and you will read about this in the monograph. The idea that it's not just leaders that make something great, but it's actually a very special type of leader, what we came to call the level 5 leaders. So you think about it is that it's a hierarchy of capabilities, and level 1 is you've got good individual skills, and level 2, you have good team skills. Level 3, you finally learn how to manage. And level 4, you finally learn how to lead, which I've always loved the definition of leadership taught by General Eisenhower, the art of getting people to want to do what must be done. But there is a higher level that we found in our research that really correlates with producing the best results. And this is the level 5 leader. It is a leader who still has that ability to get people to want to do what must be done, but does it with a wonderful blend of personal humility and indomitable professional will in pursuit of a goal or a cause that is larger and more important than they are. And that's what the level 5 is all about. So to build anything truly great, on a small scale or large, involves that level 5 leadership. Now, when I talk about the different pieces of this, people think, oh, it's only just about the top leader. But no, it's also just about any piece of leadership or even unit level leaders. And so I ask each of you in the room to think, if you are leading a department or leading a unit, how can you lead it as a level 5 so that it becomes a pocket of greatness, so that you turn your minibus into a sparkling pocket of greatness, no matter how large that unit might be. Now, I mentioned the minibus, and that brings me to the second idea, the idea of the right people on the bus. I mean, think about it. Nothing great happens without the right people. And then you think about which direction should we go, what priorities should we have, how should we focus our energies. Those are all really good questions. But it turns out that if you have the right strategy and the right vision and the right priorities, but you don't have the right people, it won't matter. You have to have the right people. And here's the other magical thing about this, is if you haven't yet figured out the right vision, the right strategy, the right priorities, if you get the right people, then with them you can figure out the right vision, strategy, and priorities. So it's really about first get the right people on your bus, then figure out where to drive it. Then finally, I would like to talk about the idea of the flywheel. Now, the flywheel is this idea that the way you build something great never happens in a single moment or a single instance or a single day or a single decision or a single breakthrough. Rather, it's disciplined people who engage in disciplined thought and who take disciplined action and doing it over and over and over again. Where you start taking good decisions and executing them supremely well in some consistent direction, and you push like pushing a giant heavy flywheel. And after a lot of effort, you get one turn, but you keep pushing. And then you get 2 turns, and 4, and 16, and 32, and 64, and 1,000, and 100,000, and a million turns on that flywheel, and you feel this tremendous sense of momentum. You'll find in the monograph where we talk about how turning the flywheel in the social sectors is just as important as turning it in the business sector. So I'd like to have you think about those ideas and others that are in the monograph and things you're going to talk about here at this wonderful annual conference. And I hope that they're useful to you as housing officers, but also very much as very dedicated professionals engaged in the quest to build communities in the residence halls and across the profession. Have a great gathering. Make the most of it. Keep turning the flywheel. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce a few of our special guests. Today we have with us Cole Gabriel from Sakura. He's our regional director, and Cole will be speaking tomorrow morning at a business meeting. Where is Cole in the? Over here. Welcome. Glad you're here. We'll be hearing from Cole in the morning. There's a group of individuals present in the room today that I would like to recognize for their service to Seijo over the years. I would like to recognize our past presidents who are with us at the conference, and then afterwards, if they'll gather here in front of the podium, I'd like to get a past president's picture after this is over. First, our immediate past president, Kathy Hobgood, from 2015-16. Kathy is here. Tim Blair from 14-15. Lisa Deco from 08-09. Deb Boykin from 03-04. Susan Grant from 02-03. Susan's in the back. From 1998-99, Cynthia Cassens. Cynthia's over here. Paul Yar from 1996-97. Paul is right here. Connie Carson from 1995-96. Rita Moser from 1991-92 will be joining us tomorrow for Thursday's program. Toni Coffin from 1989-90. Where is Toni? Toni's right here. I want to thank them for their service, and I certainly have a newfound level of respect after this past year for what they have done for the association. So now I would like to bring up two folks from Akuho'ai to give us updates from the Akuho'ai organization and our foundation. Keener Scott, who's the Director of Inclusion and Equity with Akuho'ai, and Lisa Dico, who's from the Akuho'ai Foundation.
Good afternoon. It is with pleasure that I greet you on behalf of CEO Mary DeNaro, President Beth McCluskey, President-elect Deb Smith-Rogers, Vice President Alvin Sturdivant, the Executive Board and the Home Office of Akuho'ai. I'm honored to serve as the Director of Inclusion and Equity for the association and thrilled to be a member of Seijo. There are many things that we're doing, too many to share with you today, but I want to highlight a couple. We have taken on a strong advocacy role in responding to some of the issues that have and continue to affect our students and our population. And if you go to the website, you'll find a couple letters, a colleague letter, as well as a member's letter addressing issues like transgender issues and issues with students from different countries that are feeling as though they're not really welcomed here. We're also in the process of registration being open for our ACE conference. We're very excited about it. It's going to be in Providence, Rhode Island. I think they call it the Ocean City or the Ocean State, but we're excited to be there. There are going to be a lot of programs and activities. The group's in the midst of planning these things, and we're excited about what's in store. There's also the process starting of replacing some key positions on the executive board. There are 6 open positions that are available, and I want to encourage you to nominate, or if nominate yourselves, or if you know others that you think would be good. The information is on the website, and you can see what it says. But the 6 positions are the Vice President, the Finance and Corporate Records Officer, Inclusion and Director, Equity Director, Knowledge Enhancement Director, Regional Affiliation Director, and Residence Education Director. So please go to the website when the call comes and nominate your colleagues for these important positions. The final thing I would just like to point out is our Campus Housing Index. We're very proud of this information that has gone out. We've had a lot of people respond back to this call for data, and we are using this information to direct our organization and manage our strategic plan. So information is coming out in terms of executive summaries this month. And there's going to be information, I think it came out yesterday on the website, about if you want to get subscriptions to the data. We encourage you to do that. So those are just a few things that we're involved with. We're fortunate to be able to do a lot of things thanks to people like Lisa, who is in charge of the foundation, who supports our initiatives. So I'd like to bring her up to talk about that.
Gosh, it's dark up here for notes. So good afternoon, Seijo. I'm Lisa Dico, as Keener said, and I'm from the University of Florida. And I'm honored to serve on the regional cabinet for the Akuho'ai Foundation and represent our region, Seijo, on that board. You may have noticed when we were first coming into the room, there were, the information that was scrolling on the boards were individuals who were recent participants of NHTI and RELI and undergraduate students who have attended Stars College. And I'm here to tell you, thank you, because your donations to the Akuho'ai Foundation made those opportunities possible for those individuals. As one example of what those funds are utilized for. The Akuho'ai Foundation has, Keener was mentioning before, a number of pieces within the strategic plan, but the Akuho'ai Foundation played a very significant role in helping the association move forward the Campus Housing Index, as one example, funded and sponsored research to expand to 2 locations for NHTI. That last year was the first year of that. And the creation of an inaugural mid-level manager leadership institute, just to name a few. These aspirations can't be possible without the generosity of our members throughout Seijo, all of the other regions, and Akuho'ai in general. And each dollar raised at Seijo helps fund those professional development opportunities as well as those research initiatives. And they benefit the housing profession, they benefit individuals, and ultimately, who we're here for in the first place, they benefit the residential experience that we're able to deliver for our students. So here is what's happening at the foundation table, which is down the hall across from presentation room 19. You can do one-time donations, and we'll accept as small or as large as you are willing to part with. There are a number of patron pledge opportunities, individual major donor opportunities. The silent auction is right across from the table, and a number of individuals have donated. An anonymous donor donated 5 iPad Airs. Each of the state representatives gathered together a basket to represent their state, and a number of other items as well that members have donated to raise money for the foundation. And then finally, a year ago, and I know some of you have commented or seen or stopped by to purchase a special t-shirt. A year ago, Seijo endowed a very large amount of money for the Seijo Legacy Fund, which in the future will continue to support the professional development of Seijo members. And so the Seijo Legacy Fund was established about a year ago, so this is the inaugural year, and we wanted to do something really special. And so we have the support of Bedloft for the inaugural Seijo Legacy t-shirts that you're seeing some folks sporting. And those are yours for a $25 donation. Or a Seijo Legacy Fund t-shirt, and a one-time only, they won't be available after this year, commemorative Legacy Fund pin for a $50 donation. So each year, and I hope there's been a buzz, I think there has, because we've already raised over $2,600 at the booth thus far, and we've just opened the conference. But there is a long and strong history of giving to the foundation. And our 3-year conference total, the past 3 years, has been close to a combined total of almost $50,000. So that will tell you the value of giving to the foundation, to the members in this room. And so some of you may be thinking, oh, why should I donate? You can give because you view it as an investment for professional development for yourself and for others. You may donate because your financial support contributes to the resources that are needed to grow as a professional. And you may donate because the housing profession has provided development opportunities to you, and you want to pay that forward for someone else. Whatever the reason, now is a great time to support our profession and your future development by giving to these initiatives. So all good things come to an end, and I am looking for those who may be interested in serving in this role in the future. So if you are interested in learning what the role is about to be on the regional cabinet and to represent Seijo, then please come see me at the conference. And I hope to see you all at the foundation table. Thank you.
Next up, Amanda Morales from the Educational Program Committee will be here to introduce our Scholar in Residence.
Ooh, there are a lot of you. Hi. All right, so like I said, my name's Amanda Morales, and I've had the pleasure to serve as the subcommittee chair for the Scholar in Residence program this year. It's a program that highlights someone who worked in housing for a number of years and has now transitioned into the academic realm. In recognition of his many great accomplishments both inside and outside the classroom, it's with great pleasure that we introduce Dr. Toni Coffin as the 2017 Seijo Scholar in Residence. Dr. Coffin has been a tireless leader as a housing administrator and through his work in the academic realm, and he is very deserving of this honor. Toni has an extensive background in housing. He served at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Mississippi State University, and Clemson University. He's had roles such as Residence Life Coordinator, Assistant Director of Housing, Associate Director of Housing, Director of Residence Life, and Judicial Services. Toni's pretty much done it all in housing. In 1996, Dr. Coffin transitioned into a faculty role at Clemson University. He continues his academic work there today. During his time at Clemson, Dr. Coffin has continued to make a huge impact on student affairs practitioners through teaching, research, publications, engagement in professional organizations, conference presentations, working toward developing an outstanding higher ed program at Clemson. Oh, I need to take a break, y'all. That's a lot. Consulting work at several prestigious institutions, countless presentations, publishing, you name it. Dr. Coffin has ensured his legacy in higher education. Toni's commitment to Seijo is also longstanding. He has served on and chaired various committees, and he was also a past president, as mentioned earlier. He's been actively engaged in several other state, regional, and national professional organizations over the year that include ACUHOI, ACPA, NASPA, SACSA, SCSSPA, MAHO. Shout out to everybody who knows what all of those are. Aside from his many achievements, we feel that Dr. Coffin is deserving of this award because he's a really nice guy. He's really amiable, he's engaging, he's funny, he's fun to be around, and he holds the respect of countless professionals in higher ed, current students, past students. I'm probably sure he'll get it from future students. We know that the attendees of this year's conference will benefit greatly from interacting with him. On a personal note, I'd like to share a little story involving Dr. Coffin from my years in graduate school. During my first AXA conference at the closing dinner, one of the only other people from my school and I, we went to the dinner hall and we saw an empty table in the back close to the food, so that's where we were kind of going. So we get there, nobody's there, and Dr. Coffin and one of his friends comes over and sits down. And we had this long conversation. We talk about grad school, about our goals, about, all kind of stuff. And about halfway through the dinner, he's like, "So girls, why'd you decide to crash our party?" And he points to a little sign in the middle of the table. It says, "Reserved for Dr. Coffin." And and we all kind of, we were like mortified for a minute, but then, we continued our conversation. We ate cheesecake or whatever the dessert was that night and went about it. And that's just like one of the many examples of how awesome Dr. Coffin is. Toni is just great to be around, and he's so nice. So I really encourage you all to engage with him, to interact with him. You can check out the guidebook page of, for the Scholar in Residence program. If you'd like to have dinner with Dr. Coffin, you can sign up at his table. You can engage on social media, hashtag Seijo, CO17, hashtag Seijo SIR's Toni Coffin. You can ask questions. You can sign the board at the table. You can check him out during his office hours and just meet him throughout the conference. So that's all I had to say. Whew. Here's Dr. Toni Coffin.
Thank you, Amanda. As I listen to that, I think, who is that person? Because I still think I'm a 25-year-old area coordinator. Hello, and thank you for having me. As Amanda said, my name is Toni Coffin, and I'm a faculty member at Clemson, and I've been there for 20 years. But as she said, my career began in housing. I started as an RA at the University of Tennessee, never thinking I would be in housing as a profession, just it was something to do, and I got a free room and got paid. And then all of a sudden I found that was my passion. I found that's what I really loved doing. And I was fortunate enough to work for 13 years at 3 excellent institutions and excellent housing programs to start my career. My first Seijo was in 1985, and when Jerry talked about people not being born, that's a lot of you in this room. It was in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and I'll never forget, I was working at Mississippi State at the time, and like today, money was tight, so we all decided we were going to take a van ride. Oh, not anymore. So we took 2 vans from Starkville, Mississippi to Hilton Head. I think it was about 8 hours. It was the longest trip of my entire life because I had to sit with my director beside me, and I was afraid to speak. And he was a nice man, or still is a nice man, Gene Tice, but I was petrified. But what I will say I came away from that conference with was I found my home. I found the people that I believed that I belonged with in terms of that. I was also fortunate to serve as president in 1989, 1990 of Seijo, and serving as president and working with the Mississippi Association of Housing Officers to host in Jackson was a phenomenal experience for me and really a life-changing experience for me as a professional. When I asked Jerry what he wanted me to talk a little about, we talked about talking about how things might be the same and might be different. And when I think about 25 years ago, some things were the same and some things are very, very different. We were all doing just what you're doing, working hard to provide a quality residential experience for students and designed to enhance learning. That stayed the same. Now, we didn't use words like assessment, residential colleges, residential curriculum, learning communities. We sure weren't talking about the Affordable Care Act and FLSA, which is occupying much of your time, but some things were the same. We were still talking about inclusion and diversity. We were still talking about women's issues. We were still talking about ethical behavior. So some of the topics have remained the same, but some new have emerged. As far as our conference, just to give you some perspective, in 1990, we had 48 interest sessions. Today, this conference, I believe there are 84. We had 49 exhibitors, and there were only about 400 people in attendance. And I think now you all are at 700 or 800 folks, and it looks like you're everyone out there with that. What was occupying our time at the time was a task force on the future of Seijo. You know, we have to do those about every 10 years to sort of like our campuses. Because you see, at that time, the president also served as the conference host. Let me say that. The president served as the conference host. A rather daunting task, and I was younger then, or maybe I didn't know enough or know any better when I agreed to do it. And fortunately, that task force did recommend to split that, and I believe since that time, this organization has gotten much, much stronger. Rita Mosier, who will be here tomorrow, was actually the first president elected who was not serving as the conference host and the president. So again, while some things have been the same, some things are different, some topics have come to the front, I still believe it's about the residential experience and how that contributes to learning, how that contributes to retention, how that contributes to graduation. That philosophy has remained at the forefront of what you do. And while some people may not know that, we know that. We know we make a difference in the lives of those students who live in university housing. They go out and become good citizens and good people because of the opportunities you provide them. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I look forward to getting to know you. Feel free to come by the booth, stop me in the hall. I am an extrovert, so I've never met a person I didn't know already. I look forward to spending time with you and hearing about your journey and your story and the opportunities that you've had. It's a very special conference, and I appreciate you letting me share it with you.
Thank you, Toni, and please take advantage of Toni's time while he is here. He will enjoy talking with you, and you will learn a lot by talking with him. Next up, we have Megan Thurston, who is our program chair this year, and she's going to introduce our keynote speaker for the afternoon.
Hello, Seijo. Hi. I am your Seijo 2017 program chair, and on behalf of the program committee, I'm excited to introduce the Seijo 2017 keynote speaker, one of Seijo's own, Miss Connie Carson. Miss Carson currently serves as the Vice President for Student Life at Furman University. Prior to her current senior leadership position at Furman, she held numerous positions at Wake Forest University, including Assistant Vice President for Campus Planning and Services, Executive Director of Residential Services, Director of Residence Life, Housing and Dining, Associate Director of Residence Life and Housing, Area Coordinator and Director of Camps and Conferences. Academically, she holds bachelor's degrees in biological sciences and science education from North Carolina State University, as well as master's in counselor education from NC State. She also holds an MBA from Wake Forest University. Professionally, Connie has served in many association leadership roles, including Seijo President in 1996, ACUI President from 2006 to 2007, and the ACUI Foundation Chair from 2004 to 2006. In addition, Connie served on the faculty at the Regional Entry-Level Institute, the National Housing Training Institute, and in the inaugural South African Housing Training Institute. She has worked all of her career in Seijo region, and her contributions to our profession and to the student life on campus are too numerous to name. We are grateful for her presence here at Seijo 2017. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage, Miss Connie Carson.
Crazy. All right. Hey, Seijo. I know it's been lunchtime. We're going to be here together for a little while, so let's do that one more time. Hey, Seijo. All right, a little better. It was louder over here with these guys. All right. So it's good to be with you. Or maybe I should say it's great to be with you. I know, it's corny. That's where I went. You're going to hear that a lot. So I want to let you guys know that I actually considered coming up here in a superhero's costume. I was going to do that. And then I thought about all of you. And I realized how many cell phones are out there. And you know, I learned my lesson with our division retreat about a year ago because for some reason, I thought I could dance to Justin Timberlake. It didn't actually go as well for me as it could have because it was recorded and sent to about everyone I know in the United States and abroad through Thank You, Akuhoai. So I didn't do that today, I'm just going to tell you guys. But as I was preparing for today, I started making a list of words and phrases that move us from good to great. And in thinking about Seijo, it came to me that it's good to be thankful, but it's great to give thanks. And so I want to quickly do that here. And I want to start by saying, first off, thank you to Seijo for allowing me to come here and join you and learn from you this week, because I know that I will. I'm grateful to Megan Thurston, who has been my support and point person for the last 6 to 7 months as we came up for this conference. And I have to give another thank you to Gavin Roark, or as I like to call him, Big G, my golf partner. The Seijo Executive Board, I looked at that list, and I got to tell you, it's like the who's who of college housing. Seijo has a wonderfully long tradition of connecting people and their careers through friendships and shared best practices. So I want to honor that tradition by doing a few shout-outs and thank you. And by the way, I really appreciate how y'all did the woo for the Wolfies, but not so much for the Deacons. I do that to them all the time. It ticks them off every time. But I thank you for the people who are alma maters. I think it's important for us to recognize where we get formed and where we get changed. My institutional home, Furman University, there are professional colleagues from all of those institutions that have really helped me along the way. People like Donna McGalliard, Gay Perez, Jason Cassidy, Ron Thompson have really made a difference in my life. And the associations, so we've been talking about how important Seijo is. But think about your roots. Mine started with the North Carolina housing officers. And then it moved to Seijo and to Akuhoai, but I never actually left Seijo. In fact, it's one I come back to pretty regularly. And the reason is because of those friendships and best practices that happen right here. One of the things that will happen for all of us is this network of colleagues and friends that we get to have over a lifetime. And I've been fortunate to have 3 of those groups come right out of Seijo. One is a group of level 5 leaders, as Jim Collins refers to, and friends that we are fondly call the WOHOs. And if you know who you are, you know who you are. And if you don't, meet them. And the others are the people that work on our campuses every day and yet don't work on our campuses every day. And I'm talking about our exhibitors. They're really an important part of our professional and personal lives. And I know as housing professionals, we sometimes don't know how to navigate well the exhibit hall. And by the way, it doesn't matter whether you have buying power or not. I just encourage you to do that because some of my best professional colleagues and friends have come from the exhibit hall. And so it's important for us to recognize that they add so much to our campus and do so much for the education of students and for us. And lastly, I have a shout out to our neighbors at the graduate program at Clemson University, Toni, who you've already met, and Pam Havis, because they invite those of us in South Carolina to meet their students, their graduate students, every year. And it's awesome because what it does for me is it tells me that our profession is going to continue to be in great hands. So I had to say those things. I'm also grateful for Jim Collins. He has written probably one of the best strategy books that has endured over time that I've ever read, The Good to Great, the original, and you all have the monograph. And to be honest with you, I am actually sorry that you have me instead of him. Just think of it this way. You've got the shorter, darker-haired, less credentialed version of Jim Collins. That should get you real excited right there. I know it does. But I'm more than a fan of his work. I'm a believer, and I believe we can all move from good to great. So about this monograph, what he's written, he mentioned a little bit in the video, but it was back in 2001. There aren't many books that stay relevant for that long, but his work really does. And what I really loved about what he did is he studied it when he was a faculty member at Stanford. He studied originally businesses, elite businesses. What made them different from good businesses or mediocre businesses that moved to good, and those that were good that went to great. And then he also realized that that applies to other organizations, but there were some nuanced differences. And so then he came out with a monograph for the social sector, something that applies directly to what we do. But what he found is those determinants were the same, whether it was an organization or a business, because he was building, he said what made them different is they had a culture of greatness. And he said it in his video up there. And the culture of greatness is when you have disciplined people engaged in disciplined thought, which will result in them taking disciplined action. Based on the data and the interviews, he found that there were 5 determinants of what takes an organization from good to great. And he talked about a couple of them, but I'm going to walk us through and unpack those for us today, because I know the truth is some of you guys won't actually read this monograph. I feel it in my heart. I'm a little sad about that, but the good news is we're going to talk about it, and you'll be like have the Cliff Notes version of it. My goal is to whet your appetite, to get you comfortable with the concepts, but more importantly, I want us to expand a little bit about the thought of good to great. It's not just about organizations, but it's about us and our professional development and who we are as people. So the lens I want you to use is to think about what it means for your organization, whether it's the residence hall you work in, whether it's the facility staff you're on, whether it's in the assignments area, whatever. Think about it organizationally, think about your institution. But then I also want you to think about it professionally, personally. What does it mean for me as a professional to move from good to great? So that's kind of the goal of what I want to do this afternoon with you guys, is to get you to think. So he said those 5 determinants that move those organizations from good to great, that one of them is about defining greatness. The first thing that you might want to do is, how do you define greatness? And I think a lot of times in higher ed, we have a hard time with this concept because there are so many different kinds of institutions, there are so many different people that we're serving. But defining great has much to do with the discipline of assessment, calibration, and what we measure. Do we define it around inputs or outputs? In higher ed, we do a lot of things about inputs. We look at selectivity of students, we look at SAT scores, we look at GPAs, all these inputs. But the reality is what we need to be about, what we're measuring, is the outputs. What happens with our students? How are they educated? How are they different as a result of being engaged in college? How are they different from being engaged in your residential program? Collins gives an example of a difference between businesses and the social sector when it comes to these inputs and outputs. And I'm going to use one that he uses in his book, and it's about money. Let's think about money. In the for-profit world, money is both an input and an output. So it takes money to make money, but the reality is in the for-profit world, what are you trying to do? You got to make money. So it's an input and an output. He found that in the social sector, money is really predominantly an input for us. It's a resource to help us achieve that greatness, which is the mission, which is educating students. So the output for us is different. So as you think about the housing operation, though, we're a little bit of a mixed bag, aren't we? For colleges, a housing program is a blend for our institutions of combining business for-profit strategies. There's a lot about money and resources and all, but it's all in the attempt to impact the outputs, the education. That's its purpose. Our purpose in housing is not to make money to make money. Our purpose in housing is to be good stewards of those fees because it's about education. But you do need the input of resources. So to fully achieve our goals as institutions, we need auxiliaries, we need housing and other areas for those fees to come in and for those good practices of business, but they're about the output, and we should never lose sight of that. Now, I want to take this to individuals for us in the field for a minute. And let's keep up with the money thing. We need money to do things that we can do. It costs money for you all to come here. It costs money for us to live, to be comfortable, to do the things we enjoy doing sometimes. Money is certainly helpful in perhaps having a fulfilling life. But we don't typically go into the field having money as our primary motivation. We're not doing it for free. I'm just going to check. I don't think anybody really is doing it for free. But that's not our primary motivator. So even on the individual basis in the social sector and education, the motivations are different. So let's get back to defining greatness. In the Collins study, he confirmed what really made those organizations, how they defined greatness, was a difference maker. And how he defined it's pretty simple. Delivering superior performance, making a distinct impact, and doing both of those things over a long period of time. Performance, impact, endurance. So if you think about it, that definition, it certainly can be described or used to describe organizations. But think about those professionals that you know. Can it not also describe us as humans, as people, as professionals in our field? Performance, distinctive impact over a long period of time. The takeaway for us in our work is that performance should be assessed relative to mission. We often measure performance to job description, so it begs the question, are we sure our job descriptions are aligning with our mission? And our mission is all about students. So we need to keep that in mind when we're thinking about what does great mean. And speaking of mission, which mission are we talking about? Are we talking about the housing office's mission or the institutions? I challenge myself, and I hope you do as well, to always think institutionally and to align our departmental missions, our visions, our strategies and goals with the institutions. I had a boss one time who reminded our senior staff that all that we do on our campuses, we must remember it is never about us. It's about them. It's about students. It's about the student experience, and that we should never lose sight of that. But it's easy for us to get caught up in our work. Housing programs are busy. You've got a lot on your plate. Your fingers are in a lot of pies. As long as we remember the students, the mission. So remember, disciplined people engaged in disciplined thought, resulting in disciplined action. So before we leave greatness, I want to mention a resource to you. You may consider using this as you think about performance, impact, and endurance. How many of you, just a show of hands, are familiar with the Gallup-Purdue study? good many of you. They've had a lot out there. Brandon Bustede, and I'll go ahead and say this because I know I have colleagues from Duke out there, who's a Duke graduate. So I can say that word, Duke. Brandon Bustede is the Executive Director for Education and Workforce Development for Gallup. And the Gallup produced study is conducted annually. It's been going on for about 3 years now, and it has almost 100,000 alums from all of our colleges, all of our universities. And it's a study on those alums of the outputs. It's about their level of engagement at work and their life fulfillment, their happiness. So it's about how they feel about what their college did for them outside. It's about how they are. And as a result of the data analysis, they found that what really matters in college comes down to 2 themes. There are kind of 6 factors. 2 themes are what really matter in the long run. And they are that a student had emotional support and deep experiential learning. That's it. 2 primary factors. Those people were more engaged outside of college, no matter what age. These age groups go all over the place, no matter what they do, and they were happy and more fulfilled in their lives. And those 6 items, so there were 3 that are under emotional, and there were 3 that were under experiential learning. I want to just mention those to you really quickly. The 6 experiences were that they had a professor that made them excited about learning, that they had a professor or a faculty member or a staff member who really cared about them, that they had mentors who encouraged them, so that's the 3 emotional activities, that they participated in a semester or longer project or problem-solving activity. Semester or longer, so length and intensity is important. They had a job or an internship that applied what they learned in the classroom. Applied what they learned in the classroom. Not just any job. Now, a job can be there for many reasons. So just having a job didn't do it. But you might have needed to have a job to pay for college. That's okay. But what really lasted was a job or an internship that connected the in-class and the out-of-class experience. And lastly, that they were involved in extracurricular activities at a depth level, not a breadth. So exploring is good, but then diving in and really connecting with something deeply. And guess what they found out in these stats? It's pretty, I'll use this word, damning for the collegiate experience. Only 3% of those alums had all 6 of those things. Only 3%. And a quarter of those grads did not experience any of that. A quarter did not experience any of that. So Gallup's view is that most colleges don't measure these factors well and consistently. And so as a result, I want to think about our housing programs. Defining greatness is going to come back to some key questions for us. What do we measure, quantitatively and qualitatively? How do we align our residential programs to make a difference in the student experience? Intentionality is key. And do we collect and disseminate and act upon the right data? We do a lot of quality of life surveying out there. We do a lot of things, but have we aligned it? So defining great is going to be related to that. Bustede makes the case that there's this 70-30 way that we do decisions as humans. Gallup has done a study on this, and basically it's a combination of behavioral economics and classic of how we make decisions. And 70% of our decisions are based on emotion and 30% on rationality. So we need to think about that as we're assessing things. So the second determinant of moving from good to great is level 5 leadership, and Jim Collins did a really terrific summary right there at the beginning. He talked about the pyramid of progress, and that really where that comes from is we start out as highly capable individuals with talent and knowledge and work habits, And then we become contributing members of teams. Then we become competent managers of resources and people. Then we become effective leaders. But that level 5 leader has enduring greatness and humility, as he called it, professional will. Level 5 leadership is about empowerment and power. It's about using legislative and executive power in a blend. It's about that rigorous pursuit of a mission. So executive power are those things like making the right decisions, being decisive, taking responsibility, strengthening the team. But the legislative power can't be left out. And that's about knowing that you can't make decisions alone or in isolation. That decision-making is about persuasion and shared interests, and that getting buy-in from others happens because they're involved. So you have to blend that at those level 5. And I know you guys are out there, and you probably are thinking of some people who fit level 5, and probably if you're on that pyramid, you're thinking about yourself, where am I sitting on that pyramid? Level 5 leaders are ambitious for the cause, for the mission. They're willing to do whatever it takes, and they're always asking themselves the question, do others see that I am motivated first and always for the greatness of our work together? That's those level 5 leaders. Their actions are they make the right decisions, and they have enduring greatness over time. But the difference for a level 5 leader is, again, performance, impact, endurance. Rather, they are driven for the organization, and they do it in such a way that they're respected and effective and thus beloved, not because they are loved first. And so I think what's important for us is to think about those people in our lives that we know are level 5 leaders. And he made a good point of it. Level 5 leaders should be infused throughout our organizations. They don't happen at any level. So if you're a graduate student out there, that doesn't mean you're not a level 5 leader. If you're a senior person, that doesn't mean you're a level 5 leader. So we have to remember that being a level 5 leader is about intentionality. It's about will. It's about humility. It's about the mission. I tend to see them as wise, tested, constantly driven to learn from others. And they're authentic. But I also see them as discerning and able to make tough decisions and to understand the reality of trade-offs in any decision. They work out of a place of can-do rather than out of a place of fear or a place of uncertainty. They take healthy risks. So let me say this again. They take healthy risks. So they don't take unchecked risks. These would be people, as he said, that we would follow and we would listen to even if we didn't have to. So level 5 leadership is really important. So let's move to getting the right people on the bus. This is one of my favorites. I just like that whole thought. It's easy for me to get my arms around, get the right people on the bus, and I always like to take it one step further. I think it's more than that. I think it's getting the right people on the bus in the right seats on the bus. We look at those people as they're compulsively driven. You know, the first start for us is to hire right and to retain. But remember, who are we trying to hire and retain? We do a lot of looking at resumes and skills and abilities, and those are important. There's a reason for the credentialing, but it's not the whole package. And so we need to think carefully about how we assess that. We want those people who just cannot stop themselves. Their internal engine just roars. You guys know who I'm talking about? Can you think of people like that? It's not about personality. It's not about being extroverted or introverted. It's those people who they wake up in the morning thinking about how we're going to do this, how we're going to improve this, how we're going to be better, how I'm going to be different, how I'm going to listen to people, how I'm going to be different. I love Collins's language because he even talks about them being neurotic for the cause. So we have to hire in a disciplined manner, one hire at a time, in order to create those pockets of greatness he talked about. And that's how you build the culture. So one RA at a time, one hall director at a time, one area at a time, one assignments area at a time, one residential life area at a time, you name it. One at a time is how you build it. And of course, I also like to point out that great is also about getting the wrong people off the bus. Okay? And this, my friends, tends not to be our forte. We have all suffered through the team that was held back when someone didn't make the effort or didn't carry their weight. We've all done it. You all know who they are. You also are right now thinking of who those are. And by the way, there might be people in this room thinking that you're them. So that's always risky for us, right? But I think sometimes we get too caught up in performance appraisals and metrics that reward the okay rather than the exceptional. Thus, we self-impose a ceiling on our excellence as an organization and as an individual. And this is tough for us because one of our core values as a profession is valuing people deeply, appreciating who they are and what they bring to the table, and that all of us have gifts to bring. I mean, our profession is rooted in positive psychology. And frankly, this is predominantly a good measure for our profession. But sometimes we have to admit, when done to an extreme or carelessly, we unintentionally continue a culture of mediocrity that gets woven into our work. We think more about the individual rather than the team and the ultimate mission of what's in the best interest of students. We can all fall into that trap. I've done it myself many times. So I don't mean to sound harsh, but perhaps we put the wrong people on the bus, or at least maybe we place them in the wrong seats. You never know what's going to be said here. If we truly believe that everyone has value, perhaps we have to do a better job of helping them live into their strengths. Collins makes the argument that early assessment mechanisms, rigorously employed, are actually more important than how we hire. So basically, feedback, not just the soft feedback, but the hard stuff as well, rigorously employed. And I think that says a lot to us about the importance of onboarding, mentoring, coaching, setting people up to expect success, and that early and often. I think about housing programs. We bring in a lot of new people in July and August. And then what happens in August? Oh my gosh, we get busy. We got 10,000 things to do. We're going crazy. We're excited about all this stuff, but we forget to do those things in a disciplined manner that are going to set us up for success in the future and set those students as student employees or our new employees up, or our grad assistants, our senior staff, whoever, we get lost in that. So disciplined people engaged in disciplined thought take disciplined action. So remember the Gallup-Bastide themes I referenced about emotional support and deep experiential learning? So what if we applied consistently and well those themes to our staffs, to our teammates, and to ourselves? We've all heard that axiom at the beginning of a school year for teachers, that it's better to start out hard and ease up. We talk about that all the time. That's because you want to give feedback, you want to set the tone. Alexander Aston, that's been out there for decades and decades with the 4 critical years, it still applies. Housing departments that look at the first 6 critical weeks on a floor, a community, those things that happen. What is it about that sets the tone? It's about feedback mechanisms. It's about engaging. So perhaps my suggestion here is that we should employ a little student development theory to hiring and retaining our staff. Let's go back to our roots. So getting the right people on the bus in the right seats is essential for leveraging strengths, understanding the human condition that we all have imperfections, but we also have gifts, skills, abilities, motivations, values that are important, that strengthen that team. Because after all, we're only going to be better when we're diverse. It's the reality of life. We're only going to be better when we're divorced. That might be true too, now that I think about it. And just FYI, I'm not divorced. I'm just going out there. So as you think about various teams in housing, again, the teams that you're on, focus on hiring and retaining the right people, putting them in the right seats, making sure you've made that decision well and that you're helping them. And consider how to build a culture of discipline, one RA at a time, one hall director at a time. Disciplined people, disciplined thinking, disciplined action. So let's get to the fourth determinant. It's called the Hedgehog Concept. That hedgehog's that little creature in the middle. It looks like a groundhog to me. I don't actually know the difference between a hedgehog, a groundhog, and any other hog for that matter, even though I did go to NC State. So I just put that out there. But in Good to Great, when they did this study, they found this was the most pivotal point. This is where an organization's trajectory really shot up. And so you can see it's these interconnecting circles. What are we deeply passionate about? What can we be the best in the world or best in class about? And what drives our economic engine? So let me unpack that really quickly. Passion part is probably pretty easy for this group. Educating students, citizenship, leadership, community engagement. You guys could name those things that we consider really important outputs, really important experiences. Best at. We know that every department has its strengths and contributes to the institution in unique ways. What is it that housing delivers that no one else on campus can deliver? We need to think about that. What is it that we deliver? Why is it so important? There are plenty of studies out there about the importance of the residential program, but we sometimes lose sight of all that as we're measuring greatness and thinking about what's most important. And then the economic engine, what does that mean? It's really about time, money, and your brand. Time is easy. It's human resources. It's our people, the who in the equation. Are we focused on the core? Are we focused on the mission, which is about student engagement, about student success, about student education? It's about education. And then our money. Do we have a sustained cash flow? Are we good stewards with the money we have? How do we handle room assignments and occupancy and facilities and staffing? And our brand, which is really our purpose, how well can the organization cultivate that emotional goodwill for students and for the campus community? How can we do that? And how can we engage them in that deep experiential learning? So ultimately, the Hedgehog Concept is about our passion for the core values of our institution, the purpose of our institution. What are we trying to do? Our unique contribution to the students we touch in housing. How do we contribute to that core? And then our brand is about how do we contribute to the institution's brand because of the way we manage our time, our money, our resources, frankly, how we manage our departmental brand so that we support the institution. So the last determinant, the fifth one, is the one he talked about, turning the flywheel. And I think, this one's an easy one for us to understand. You push hard, and you do it a slow at a time. You make little increments of change, and basically it gets easier and stronger. And the more people that join you and the more you go in the same direction, you get a vision, you do well. Think about that basketball team. It's college basketball season right now, and I love watching it, although my team is not in a good place. But Furman, strangely, is in a great place. I don't get that, but here we are. But if you think about those teams, you're seeing right now that the really great teams are starting to see who's rising to the top. But they didn't start there. Back in November in their first games, go back and look at some of those tapes. You'd see a really different team. Even if they were pretty good, you see a really different team. So the point of this is that it's not about one killer program. It's not about one innovation in your department. It's not about even one lucky break. It's about continuous improvement, healthy risk-taking, staying the course with intentionality. And if you think about that flywheel, you have to start pushing and slogging through slowly but surely and continuing to do that. And as you keep pushing with persistent effort, you start to make real progress. So it's stay the course. Every turn of the wheel builds on the last turn. And as the momentum grows, the brand grows, the purpose grows, what you're doing grows. The key to this turning the flywheel is that you're paying attention to that hedgehog concept the whole time. That's what we're talking about. That's where your focus should be. And the results will attract others to it. People want to be on winning teams. They want to be involved in something that's working. They want to make a difference. They want to have fun doing it. And so this is one of the ways that that happens, is staying the course. All of this effort builds that brand because of tangible results, tangible emotions, the goodwill, the deep experiential learning, the outcomes. That's what we're going for. So thinking back to the Gallup work, remember that 70-30 ratio, thinking is typically 70% emotional, our decision-making, and 30% rational. This is where we deliver on that mission. Success with our brand or our purpose will come consistently by focusing over time on our core. We have a tendency to get out of our core, and we start to lose that. We've done that in housing a lot sometimes. We think of ourselves as the experts in everything, when in reality, we need to be concentrating on being the experts in the student experience and in education. That's our core. The other things help us get there. The other things are the input. That's the output. So I think you should ask yourselves, as you go back to your campuses, some questions. Are our processes, our procedures, our policies aligned with truly serving students? Do our operating practices, our cultural, departmental norms, and our strategies preserve that core? In our work, we should constantly be evaluating what we do and what we should no longer do. And I would argue, take a look at that Gallup-produced study to see what's really making a difference, and think about how you focus your time and your energy with that. Are we measuring what really matters? I know assessment is an important part of what we do in our field, but do our assessments get to the heart of what it is that we should be measuring? I keep pointing over here because over here is my outputs, the education. So I encourage you to read the monograph in the days and weeks ahead, and as you do, think about it from the two perspectives, what it means as an organization, whether it's in a small unit, as he says, it might be your residence hall, might be on your RA staff, might be in your assignments operation. But also I want you, we're here for professional development. What does it mean for you as an individual? How can I move myself from good to great? Because what it boils down to is discipline. And I know a lot of people don't like that word. It really just means intentionality. So remember, discipline people, discipline thought, discipline action. And he said it at the end of his video, and I wanted to repeat it here. We start with, though, the first thing we start with is discipline people. Can we be level 5 leaders infused throughout the organization? Do we get the right people on the bus? We start with who before we go to what. And then discipline people that we've chosen or that we are engage in disciplined thought. So that means we have to confront the brutal facts. What are we measuring? What are we doing with those measurements? What's our hedgehog concept? He talks about big, hairy, audacious goals. I don't want to go there, but basically they make up the hedgehog concept. And making good decisions consistently over time. So engaging in disciplined thought leads us to disciplined action, and that's how we develop a culture of greatness. So I want to close with some reflections, words and phrases. I've been thinking for months and months. I have driven my family crazy. I've driven my office crazy of what things kind of symbolize for me good versus great. And so I have a few I wanted to share with you guys. And I encourage you in the next few days to play this little game amongst yourselves. I don't pretend this list is everybody's list, or you would even agree with this list, but come up with your own. So I think it's good to listen, but I think it's great to hear. I think it's good to be right, but it's great to admit when we're wrong and to know that we don't know all the answers. I think it's good to be a mentor or to have a mentor, but I think it's great to be a mentor and to give back. I think it's good to be passionate, but it's great to put that passion to action. I think it's good to get an education, but I think it's great to use that education. Now, this is one probably will get me in trouble, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's good to say we are open-minded, but it's great to actually be and to demonstrate being open-minded. It's good to seek perfection, but it's great to have a hunger, a yearning to learn. It's good to meet the needs of others, but it's great to anticipate needs. It's good to have customer service. It's great to never lose sight of who it is you're actually serving. It's great to have a strong work ethic. Well, actually, it's good. I did that one wrong, didn't I? It wasn't divorce, but, it's in that same realm. It's good to have a strong work ethic, but it's great to work smart. It's good to meet expectations, but it's great to exceed expectations. It's good to have a vision, but it's great to demonstrate real outcomes. And last but not least, it's good to attend Seijo, but it's great to present, to be present, to engage, to learn from each other, to be in community, to develop friendships and networks, and to have fun. Thank you so much, Seijo. Have a great conference.
On behalf of the programming committee, we'd like to give you a small token of our appreciation. So let's give Ms. Connie Carson another round of applause. Thank you. All right, folks, I have a couple updates that I want to talk to you about. We have some really exciting news. So, we are excited to introduce our organization to electronic program evaluations through Guidebook. Woo! So we have transitioned to a paperless process to determine the best of the Seijo program, but we need you. So I invite everyone to take out their devices and follow along with me for the instructions on how to submit an electronic program evaluation. If you don't have your device or you don't have the Guidebook app downloaded, it's okay, look on with someone else. But we want to make sure that folks do have that Guidebook app downloaded. You're going to check the guide. Make sure you go to the upper left-hand corner, which is the menu button. You're going to select the master conference schedule. And then we want folks to select the opening lunch session that we are in right now. So Wednesday, March 1st, the opening lunch session. Okay. Once you open that, it will give you the details of the session. And the most important thing, and this is going to happen for every program that you attend, we want you to scroll down. You're going to scroll until you see the program evaluation option. And you'll also see at the top there, there's the rate this and a few stars. That doesn't really impact us. We will not be using that. Feel free to still hit those little stars if you want, but it's not going to impact in terms of the evaluation. So we do need you to scroll all the way down and select the program evaluation. This will open the program eval for you, and it's going to take you through a series of questions. So it's going to ask you to select your positional level, select your functional area. Each question can be rated 1 through 7, and you go through a series of questions. Then you're going to get to question 13, and it's about the effectiveness of multimedia. You have 3 options. Do the presenters do well? Yes. Do the presenters not do so well with their media? Yes or no? If it wasn't used, so if like you're in a round table, it wasn't used at all, just make sure you're doing not applicable. And then also in question 14 and 15, this is where you get to give your feedback to your evaluators. So my presenters out there, you will be getting electronic feedback after the conference. So you'll no longer have to pick up those lovely packets that we've given out in the past. So for those of you that are evaluating those sessions, make sure that you're giving good quality feedback so we can email those out to our presenters after the conference. And then once you are satisfied with your answers and your input, you're going to go ahead and hit that submit button. So we are really excited about Guidebook and what it's going to bring to us, because it's what allows us to choose that Best of Seijo program. So make sure when you're attending those programs that you fill out your eval before you leave the room. Also, just a quick reminder that we want to hear from you about our freeform topics. You can submit ideas via the link in any of the freeform sessions listed throughout the schedule on Guidebook. You'll see them sprinkled throughout the schedule. Just click in one of them, scroll all the way down, click on the link, and you'll be able to fill out and give us your topics. Once we have those topics submitted to us, we'll go ahead and schedule those, and then you'll see the topics listed in the freeform sessions, and we'll send out a message as well once those are solidified. Throughout the conference, if you have any questions, please find a program committee member in blue. We have these fancy polos this year, so make sure you come and find us if you have any questions, or stop by our program committee room 11. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next person to the stage.
It is dark up here, Lisa. For those of us who have vision issues, I'm going to be doing this. So hello, Seijo. Hopefully everyone is as full and satisfied as I am. As we gather today, we're honored to be celebrating and recognizing the outstanding contributions to our field by 6 incredible housing colleagues through a special form of official recognition by Seijo. Resolution of Appreciation is one way that Seijo recognizes distinguished leaders in housing and residence life in the Southeast who leave the field either through retirement, career change, or death. The Governing Council approves resolutions, and we use our annual conference to share them with our membership. We will be presenting 2 today, 2 tomorrow at the business meeting, and 2 on Friday during our closing ceremony. So you want to make sure that you are in attendance at each of those so you can hear who the resolutions are going to be presented to. So will Lisa Dico come to the podium, please?
Good afternoon again. Okay, so are we sure? Okay, all right. Sorry. Whereas Gerard J. Kowalski has served as a housing and residence life professional with distinction for 37 years, and whereas Gerard J. Kowalski, can I just say Jerry? I can't, this Gerard. Whereas Jerry Kowalski has supported the goals of the Southeastern Association of Housing Officers through decades of dedicated service and support, including serving as co-director of the National Housing Training Institute, president of the Virginia Association of College and University Housing Officers, tenure on the editorial board for the Journal of College and University Student Housing, as well as numerous committees in support of conference programs, host committees, and for Seijo and for Kuhoai. Whereas Jerry also promoted the housing and residence life profession through exceptional leadership and involvement at the state and national level through his service to Kuhoai, the Virginia Association of College and University Housing Officers, ACPA, NASPA, NACUBO, and NACUS. Whereas Jerry's tenure as a housing and residence life professional was characterized by an unmatched dedication to mentoring new professionals, educating hundreds of graduate students in the classroom, and generously sharing his knowledge through conference presentations. And whereas Jerry's infectious positivity, can-do attitude, and never knew a stranger, only friends I haven't met approachability have positively impacted countless students, staff members, and colleagues. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Governing Council of the Southeastern Association of Housing Officers, on behalf of its membership, wishes to express its sincerest appreciation and highest esteem to Jerry Kowalski for exemplary contributions to the association and to our field. Jerry?
Thank you very much.
I was hoping that was the light so I could see a little better, but guess not. All right, I want to have an Oscar moment. The winner's moonlight, right? So, it is my pleasure to present a resolution for somebody who's very special to me, to somebody who kind of gave me, who did give me my start in residence life, and that's Dr. Ann Bailey. And so I'm going to read her resolution. Whereas Ann Bailey served as a housing residence life professional with distinction for 20 plus years, whereas Ann Bailey supported the goals for the Southeastern Association of Housing Officers through preparing and presenting numerous programs, serving in mentoring roles to new professionals, and participating on several conference host committees. Whereas Ann Bailey also promoted the housing residence life profession through leadership and involvement at the state, regional, and national level, whereas Ann Bailey's tenure as a housing residence life professional was characterized by an infectious, I guess that was the word for resolutions today, an infectious exuberance and unparalleled dedication to the growth and development of students and staff. And whereas Ann Bailey faithfully served student affairs as SACSA president and in numerous other capacities, now therefore be it resolved that the Governing Council of the Southeastern Association of Housing Officers, on behalf of its membership, wishes to express its sincerest appreciation and highest esteem to Ann Bailey for her exemplary contributions to the association and our field. Ann Bailey. To talk about that dedication, there we go. Well, I'll give it to her at a later time. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I know that you're getting ready for presentations, but I do have a couple of housekeeping announcements. One, again, host committee are in polos and fleeces throughout. If you need anything, feel free to stop us, and there's always someone at registration during registration hours. During your evals, you do need to be connected to Wi-Fi. So I saw some folks looking at others. You do need to go ahead and connect to the Convention Center Wi-Fi. Again, thanks to our convention meal staff for a great lunch. We very much appreciate them. I also want to take a moment to, again, highlight all of our platinum, gold, and silver sponsors that really keep your costs down. We appreciate them. And again, make good use of that exhibit hall time tomorrow. There is weather updates, so you've probably all been getting messages on your phone. We sent out an email this morning to alert you on where to go if a tornado is spotted in the area. Announcements will come on throughout the convention center, so again, please keep up to date, look for phones, listen for what's going on in the convention center. Right now the schedule is the same as it will be moving forward, and so nothing's been modified, everything's still on, but do continue to keep an update. In Guidebook, there's like an inbox, so when we send you a push notification, you can always go to your inbox to see what that message said. We are under a tornado watch at least until 7 p.m., so again, that means conditions favorable for all my housing friends. But we, again, sent that message out. Remember to post pictures on Seijo, hashtag Seijo17, add them to our social media on the guidebook. You might see yourself in the closing. Take advantage of our Seijo conference Snapchat that's also live. That filter was added. And then presenters and moderators, feel free to leave now, and once they're out, everyone else, enjoy your first program session. Case study, we will evaluate and probably move you to another time to try to figure out. So if the case study group can just come up to talk to me about how to adjust on the schedule and maybe do it during a break. But again, presenters and moderators, go ahead and head out. Case study, those coordinating, come up and talk to me, and we will adjust that time since that was 2 to 2:30. So again, we will modify case study. Presenters, moderators, head out. First session does start at 2:30. And past presidents, please come up front for your photos. So past presidents up front for your photo. Presenters, moderators out. Case study coordinators, come up and talk with me. All right, I think the presenters are out. Enjoy your first session. Thanks so much.